I used to think the honeymoon phase was real, not just a phrase, but a magical little pocket of time when everything feels just right. And for the first 3 days in Santorini, I believed it. I believed in him, in us, in every slow kiss under the sun, every shared laugh over overpriced cocktails, every whisper in the quiet of our private villa. It was our first trip as husband and wife. The word still sounded weird in my head, husband. I was 28, freshly married, glowing in my flowy white dress, sandals kicked off, drink in hand, and thinking, this is it. This is my forever. His name is Nick. Nick was the kind of guy who knew how to charm a room without being loud. He was confident in that quiet, steady way. A listener. Or at least, I thought so. We met at a bookstore, of all places. He made some cheesy joke about judging me by my book cover, and somehow that led to coffee, then dinner, then moving in together after 10 months. The proposal came right after my mom passed, and honestly, I clung to him like a life raft. It felt like fate. I told myself it was fate. But fate, as I'd learn, has a funny way of putting up warning signs you're too love-drunk to notice. Our villa had a private pool that overlooked the Aegean Sea. Waking up there felt like something out of a travel blog. On the third morning, I woke up to the smell of espresso and the sound of Nick humming in the kitchen. He made us breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, avocado, the works. I laughed and asked, "You trying to make me fall even more in love with you?" He smirked. "Too late. You already signed the contract." I giggled then. Now, I hate how that sentence replays in my head like a warning I ignored. That afternoon, we went sightseeing, photos, laughter, gelato, the whole touristy experience. But something shifted after dinner. We got back to the villa, and he disappeared into the bedroom for a while. I figured he was tired, jet lag still had us both off. I stayed out on the patio, sipping wine and scrolling through my camera roll, reliving the moments. After maybe 20 minutes, I wandered inside to grab a sweater. It was breezy. That's when I heard it. Not a sound, really. More like a tone in his voice. He was talking to himself, not loudly, just low enough that it felt like a private moment I wasn't supposed to walk in on. I peeked in, expecting maybe a phone call. But no. He was on his laptop, leaned in close, reading something with this look on his face. I can't explain it. Intense. Focused. Like whatever was on that screen mattered to him. I said his name, soft at first. "Nick?" He jolted, slammed the laptop shut like a guilty teenager. "Hey. You scared me," he said, all breathless. I laughed awkwardly. "Sorry, I didn't know you were working or something." He looked rattled. Too rattled for someone who was just reading Reddit or checking the news. Later that night, after he fell asleep, and snored right through a thunderstorm, curiosity got the better of me. I know. I shouldn't have snooped. But something in my gut had shifted. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him, and grabbed his laptop. He hadn't even cleared the tabs. Reddit. The thread title burned into my brain the second I saw it. Men who've successfully broken their wives. What worked? My blood ran cold. I clicked. It was filled with posts from men, some joking, some not, about how to train a woman into obedience. Tactics that sounded like they belonged in a dystopian novel. With upvotes. Comments. Strategies. One post bragged about isolating his wife on their honeymoon, slowly wearing down her confidence so she'd depend on him for everything. And Nick had commented. Using a throwaway, sure. But I recognized the way he wrote. I recognized his phrasing, his grammar quirks. He replied to one guy, saying something like, "Exactly. It's about creating dependence early. Reward and punish. Honeymoon is the perfect time to set the tone." I felt sick. The kind of sickness that crawls into your bones and whispers, "Run." I sat there on the edge of the bed, watching the man I married, the man I thought I knew, snore peacefully beside me. My mind raced. Was this some sick joke? Research for a book? Curiosity? No. You don't comment like that if you're just browsing. And suddenly, moments started replaying in my head like puzzle pieces clicking into place. The offhand way he told me I looked better without makeup, then insisted I stop wearing it. How he discouraged me from calling my sister on the trip, saying we should be fully present. That one weird moment at the airport when he took my passport, just to keep it safe, and didn't give it back until I asked twice. Individually, none of these seemed like red flags. But now? Now they felt like neon signs screaming "Get out." I wanted to shake him awake. Demand an explanation. But some primal instinct told me not to. Not yet. Instead, I slipped back out to the patio as the sky turned pink with sunrise. My heart was pounding like it was trying to warn me. I sat there, wine glass still half full from earlier, trembling in my silk robe, wondering how the hell I got here. I thought this was the start of forever. But it might just be the beginning of something much darker. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I tried to act normal, whatever that even meant. We were still in Bali, still on our honeymoon, surrounded by paradise. But it felt like there was a glass wall between me and everything else, including him. At breakfast, I stirred my smoothie with a straw until it melted. He was scrolling through his phone again, sunglasses hiding his eyes. I couldn't help but wonder what he was reading now. I had a weird dream, I said, testing the waters. You were someone else. Like I didn't recognize you. He looked up. What, like werewolf weird or serial killer weird, he joked, flashing that same charming grin that had once made me feel so safe. I forced a laugh. More like, control freak weird. His brow furrowed, just a flicker, before he chuckled. Well, as long as I didn't eat you alive. I smiled tightly. I didn't want to tip my hand yet. I needed to understand what I was dealing with. Back in the hotel room, he went to shower, leaving his phone on the bed. This time, I didn't hesitate. I dove back into the Reddit app. The thread was gone from his history, but not from his saved posts. It was buried under a few fake account usernames. I tapped one. He had an entire alt account. Commenting. Participating. One post was titled, "How do you know when you've broken her in enough to relax?" And his reply? When she stops questioning and starts apologizing automatically. That's when you've made progress. I sat down hard on the bed, bile rising in my throat. This was a mindset, a plan. I confronted him that night. We were supposed to go out for a romantic sunset dinner on a cliffside restaurant. Instead, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection, rehearsing what I'd say. My heart felt like it was trying to crawl out of my chest. He walked out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, humming. You almost ready? I turned to him slowly. What is breaking a wife's spirit supposed to mean? His humming stopped. He looked at me, confused, or pretending to be. What are you talking about? I saw your Reddit thread. The one you commented on. The one you saved. You know, the one where men talk about how to train their wives like dogs. A beat of silence stretched between us. Then another. He laughed, but it was short and hollow. Oh, come on. That? You're serious? Dead serious. He ran a hand through his hair, face shifting from surprise to annoyance. It's just some stupid online post. I didn't mean anything by it. You wrote a comment. You said once I start apologizing automatically, it means you've made progress. His jaw twitched. It was just a joke. You know how Reddit is. Edgy humor. You take everything so personally. You saved that thread, Nick. His expression turned cold. Defensive. So now you're snooping through my phone? On our honeymoon? That's rich. You left it unlocked. And you had no right. If you're already this paranoid, maybe we have bigger problems. My voice trembled. Do we? He didn't answer. Just turned away, towel whipping a little too sharply as he yanked on his jeans. "This is ridiculous." "I'm not being ridiculous," I said, voice low, more steady now. "I'm seeing a side of you I never saw before. And it terrifies me." He scoffed. "Because of a Reddit thread? Grow up." "No," I said. "Because you didn't deny it. You didn't apologize. You deflected. Like you were trained to." His hand paused on the doorknob. He looked back, and for the first time, I saw something dark flicker in his eyes. Something calculating. "Maybe you're not the person I thought you were either," he muttered, before walking out. He stayed gone for hours. I sat on the hotel balcony, watching the sky melt into hues of gold and blood orange, my untouched drink sweating on the table beside me. I thought about all the times I had justified the way he cut me off in conversations, the way he got weirdly quiet when I questioned him, the way he sometimes reacted to disagreement like it was betrayal. At the time, I'd called it intensity. Passion. But maybe it had been something else all along. Control. Domination. A game he thought he was winning. Later that night, I heard a knock on the door. I opened it expecting Nick, but instead, it was a woman, mid-30s, American accent, wearing a hotel uniform with a clipboard in hand. "Hi," she said. "Sorry to bother you so late. I'm Emily, part of the resort's guest relations team. We had a bit of a situation earlier and I just wanted to check if everything's okay." My heart thudded. "What kind of situation?" She hesitated, then looked down the hall before lowering her voice. "There was a disagreement in the bar. Your husband was involved. Nothing serious, but he seemed upset. Aggressive, even. A staff member overheard something about teaching you a lesson." My blood ran cold. "I'm sorry," she added quickly. "We just wanted to make sure you're safe." I swallowed hard and nodded. "Thank you." Emily hesitated, then pulled something from her clipboard and slipped it into my hand. It was a business card. "My cousin works in Jakarta. She's helped women in tough situations. Just in case." "All right?" I nodded again, too stunned to speak. She gave a small, kind smile and walked away. I locked the door. All 3 bolts. I didn't sleep that night either. Not with those words echoing through my head, teaching you a lesson. And in the silence, a new realization crept in, slow, terrifying, and final. This wasn't just about a thread. It was about a man who never saw me as an equal. The next morning, I booked my own room. I told the front desk there had been an incident, and they didn't ask questions. I think the staff already knew something was off. The woman from last night, Emily, was there. She caught my eye and gave a small, discreet nod like, "You're doing the right thing." I moved my things while Nick was still asleep. When I left the suite, I didn't even look back. I stayed in a room across the resort for the last 2 days of our honeymoon. Alone. No fancy dinners, no couples massages, no sunrise yoga. Just long walks on the beach, crying in the shower, and staring at the ceiling wondering how the hell I ended up married to a man who read guides on training his wife. He texted once. "You're making a bit of a fuss. Let's talk before you blow this out of proportion." I didn't reply. I wasn't sure what scared me more, the thread he read, or how casually he tried to sweep it under the rug. When I finally flew home, I didn't go back to our shared apartment. I stayed with my best friend, Kayla. She opened her door in a hoodie and sweatpants and didn't ask a single question, just pulled me into the longest hug and whispered, "Whatever it is, I've got you." I broke down right there on her doormat. For hours, we sat on her couch. I told her everything. From the Reddit thread to the confrontation, to the hotel staff warning me, to how I'd been second-guessing my own gut for months, maybe longer. Kayla didn't interrupt. But when I finally looked up, her eyes were wet too. "I had a weird feeling about him," she admitted. "I didn't want to say anything during the engagement, but the way he always answered for you. The way he joked about you being high maintenance? That wasn't love. That was control. I nodded slowly. He made me feel like I had to earn his affection. Like if I didn't agree with him, he'd just withdraw it. That's not a husband, Kayla said. That's a handler. The following week was a blur of small, awful moments. I found out he'd emptied our joint honeymoon savings to pay for his half of the trip without telling me. I discovered he'd removed my name from the lease of our apartment just before the wedding. And I realized that all those jokes he made about being the man of the house were just the surface of something much uglier underneath. I scheduled a consultation with a divorce attorney. The woman looked over the short marriage length and pre-wedding financial setup and gave me a sad smile. You're lucky, she said. It's early. You can get out clean. But emotionally? I didn't feel clean. I felt contaminated. Then came the worst part. He showed up at Kayla's. I was in the kitchen making coffee when she came in and said, "He's here. He's outside." I froze. My whole body just locked up. Kayla peeked out the curtain and added, "He's not yelling. Not making a scene. Just standing there." I looked. He was dressed nice, like he'd put effort into it. Holding a small bouquet of flowers. No ring. Just the image of a remorseful man trying to win his wife back. Kayla reached for her phone. "You want me to call someone?" I took a deep breath. "No. I'll talk to him." He started with an apology. The kind of long, carefully worded apology that sounds sincere on the surface but avoids ever admitting what actually happened. I messed up. I wasn't thinking. I got caught up in stupid online stuff, he said, eyes wide with practiced regret. I never wanted to hurt you. I crossed my arms. You didn't just read it. You participated. You believed it. He shook his head. It wasn't real, babe. It was just venting. Dumb bravado. I didn't mean it. But you said I was making progress when I started apologizing automatically. That was a joke, he insisted. A bad one. I studied his face. The way he spoke. How quickly he tried to turn it into my overreaction. It hit me all over again. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was who he was. "Do you even realize what you were doing to me?" I asked quietly. "Every time you ignored me, every time you gave me the silent treatment, every time you twisted something I said until I was the one apologizing?" His expression didn't change. "You weren't building a marriage. You were conditioning me." He blinked. "So what, you're just done? Over one stupid Reddit post?" "Yes," I said. "And over everything that came before it. I'm done being someone's experiment." He didn't scream. Didn't beg. He just stared at me like I was a puzzle that wouldn't solve itself. Then he left, taking the flowers with him. Kayla and I stood in silence as his car pulled away. "Are you okay?" she asked. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking, but not from fear. From adrenaline. From relief. "Yeah," I said. "For the first time in a long time. I think I am." That night, I finally deleted all our photos. I unfollowed him on every app. Changed my last name back. Blocked his number. And just before bed, I opened Reddit, one last time. I searched the thread again. The same one about breaking wives. This time, I reported it. Then I started typing out my own post. Not for karma. Not for pity. But to warn someone else who might be doubting their gut like I did. The title? "If he tries to train you, he's not a husband, he's a walking red flag." After I posted on Reddit, I shut my laptop and just sat there, staring into the dark. It wasn't dramatic. There were no tears this time. Just this strange, quiet calm. Like I'd finally stepped out of a storm I didn't even realize I'd been standing in for months, maybe years. The post exploded overnight. Thousands of comments. People from all over the world thanking me, sharing their own stories, some heartbreakingly similar. Women who'd lived with men like Nick. Men who admitted they used to think like him, until they realized how much harm it caused. A few trolls, of course. But mostly support. Solidarity. I didn't respond to many. I couldn't. It was overwhelming. But I read every word. And somewhere in that sea of strangers, I found the validation I'd been craving for so long. Not just that I wasn't overreacting, but that I'd been surviving something real. Something insidious. And I'd gotten out. The next few weeks were hard. No sugarcoating it. I cried. A lot. I second-guessed everything, from the wedding to the way I brushed my hair. I had dreams where I was back in that hotel suite, waking up next to him like nothing ever happened. I'd bolt upright in bed, heart racing, until I realized I was safe. Kayla never left my side. She helped me find a therapist who specialized in emotional abuse. We worked through the gaslighting, the self-doubt, the grief. And yeah, because that's what it was. Grief. I wasn't just mourning the relationship. I was mourning the version of me who had believed it was love. I also started rebuilding. I got my own apartment. Small, quiet, with sunlight that spills across the kitchen floor in the mornings. I hung up prints I actually liked, not the ones Nick said were too girly. I bought myself the softest bedding and a new toothbrush and a matching set of dishes because I could. I learned how to be alone again. At first, I filled the silence with TV or music. But eventually, I stopped needing the noise. I could sit on my little balcony with a cup of coffee and just be. And it didn't feel empty. It felt peaceful. Nick tried reaching out again. Not directly. But through mutual friends. Through my sister. Even a weird birthday card that showed up at Kayla's with no return address. I never responded. Not once. Because I'd realized something important. You don't owe closure to the person who broke you. One afternoon, I went back to the apartment we used to share. Just to grab a few things I'd left behind. He wasn't there, he'd moved out already, thank God. I walked through the space we used to call ours and felt nothing. The rooms were smaller than I remembered. Colder. Like the energy had drained out of them the minute I walked away. I grabbed a box of old books, a sweater I thought I'd lost, and a photo album from my childhood. Then I left the key on the counter. No note. No goodbye. Just a clean exit. That night, I cooked dinner in my new place, just for me. I played music, danced around barefoot, and ate on the couch without anyone making snide comments about how lazy that looked. I was still healing. Still unpacking years of manipulation disguised as jokes and concern. But I was also free. And little by little, that freedom started to feel like joy. There's one moment that stands out, the first time I laughed until I cried after everything went down. I was with Kayla, trying on ridiculous sunglasses at a flea market. She put on this oversized, sparkly pair and struck a pose, and I just lost it. Full-on belly laugh. Couldn't breathe. And in that moment, I thought, he doesn't get this. He doesn't get to take this version of me away. He tried. But he failed. I'm not the woman he tried to mold. I'm not the wife he tried to train. I'm me. And I'm still here. Still laughing. Still growing. Still unlearning the lie that love is supposed to hurt. And someday, if I ever fall in love again, it'll be with someone who doesn't want to rewrite me. Just someone who sees me clearly, and chooses me anyway. It's been a year. 12 months since the honeymoon that never really was. Since I left a man who thought love meant control. Since I found the courage to choose myself over the life I was supposed to have. And you know what? I don't miss him. Not even a little. I don't miss the eggshells I walked on daily. I don't miss wondering if I was too much or not enough. I don't miss the manipulation wrapped in charm, the quiet punishments dressed as boundaries, or the way he made me feel like love was conditional, something to earn, not receive. Instead, I've learned how good it feels to come home to peace. To lock my own front door. To pour a glass of wine, play my favorite music, and dance around the kitchen in sweatpants. To spend a Sunday doing nothing at all without someone making me feel guilty for it. I picked up journaling. Joined a hiking group. Got a raise at work. Started saying no without over-explaining. I even started dating again, slowly, carefully, and only on my terms. No expectations. No timelines. Just the quiet bravery of letting someone see the real me without shrinking myself to fit what they might want. And for the first time, I'm not afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of losing this peace, this clarity, this version of me I fought so hard to reclaim. I still think about that Reddit thread sometimes. The one that changed everything. I wonder how many women saw it and scrolled past, ignoring the gnawing in their gut. I wonder how many men are still in there, trading tips on how to shape their wives like their pets instead of people. But mostly, I hope someone finds my post instead. Someone who's confused. Or scared. Someone who feels trapped in a relationship that doesn't have bruises but still leaves them hurting. Someone who needs to hear what I wish I had heard sooner: you're not imagining it. Real love doesn't need to be trained. And if someone is trying to break you down to build their ideal version of a partner, run. Don't walk. Run. Because love isn't about obedience. It's about respect. And if you have to disappear to make someone stay, then it's not love at all. So here I am. Still healing. Still growing. Still me. And if you're reading this, whoever you are, I hope you get to feel this kind of freedom too. Because trust me, there's life after him. And it's beautiful.